I'm 21 and living with my boyfriend, Matt, who's 24. We moved in together 6 months ago, and at first it felt like a dream. Our own little place, decorating the apartment together, late-night pizza runs, the whole deal. But a couple weeks ago, things took a turn I never expected. Matt's best friend, Tyler, showed up at our door with a duffel bag, saying he'd been kicked out of his apartment. I didn't think much of it at first. Friends help each other out, right? Matt promised it would be temporary just until Tyler got back on his feet. But that first night, I noticed something strange. Tyler didn't seem uncomfortable, like a guest. He acted like he belonged there, kicked off his shoes, sprawled across the couch, flipped on our TV, and even opened a beer from our fridge without asking. I brushed it off as him just being familiar with Matt, but the feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. By the third night, I started realizing this wasn't just a sleepover situation. Tyler had boxes delivered, actual moving boxes. When I asked Matt about it, he brushed me off, saying Tyler just needed a place for his stuff until he figured things out. But I couldn't shake that he was settling in for good, and Matt was avoiding telling me the full story. The weirdest part was how Matt started acting. He suddenly became really protective of Tyler, always defending him, downplaying my concerns, and even changing little routines we had so Tyler would. The more I noticed, the more uneasy I felt. Something about this didn't sit right, but I couldn't quite put my finger on. Last night, I saw something in my stomach. Last night, came home from work early. Normally, Matt and I walked in. The apartment already smelled. I thought maybe he'd surprised me, which honestly would have been sweet. When I stepped into the kitchen, it wasn't Matt at the stove, it was Tyler. He was cooking shirtless, acting like this was his kitchen, his home. My first reaction was annoyance, but then I noticed something else. Matt was leaning against the counter, laughing, watching him like it was the most normal thing in the world. They both froze when they saw me, but only for a second. Matt grinned like nothing was off, and said they were just trying out a new recipe, but the vibe was weird. It felt like I'd walked in on an inside joke I wasn't part of. Dinner was awkward, to say the least. They kept exchanging looks, laughing at things I didn't get, and even started talking about stories from years ago, stuff I had no clue about. I sat there picking at my food, feeling more like a guest in my own apartment. Afterward, I went to our bedroom to change, and that's when I noticed Tyler's things. His boxes weren't just piled in the corner anymore, they were unpacked. Clothes in the closet, shoes lined up next to Matt's, even toiletries in the bathroom. He hadn't said a word to me about it, neither had Matt. I felt my heart pounding. This wasn't temporary. Tyler had officially moved in, and somehow, I was the last to know. That's when I decided I needed answers. I waited until Tyler went out for a smoke and cornered Matt in the bedroom. My voice was shaking, but I told him straight up. I needed to know what was going on. Why were Tyler's clothes in our closet? Why were his things all over the bathroom? Why hadn't he talked to me before letting someone move in with us? Matt didn't even look guilty. He just shrugged and said Tyler had nowhere else to go, and that I should cut him some slack. I pushed harder, asking how long Tyler planned on staying. That's when Matt finally admitted it. Tyler wasn't looking for a new place. He was starting fresh, and planned on living with us until he figured things out. I couldn't believe it. Matt hadn't just forgotten to ask me. He'd made this decision behind my back, and apparently had no say. I told him it was unfair, that I hadn't signed up to share my home with his best friend. He got defensive, saying I was being selfish, that Tyler was family to him, and family helps family. My chest was tight, and I felt cornered. I reminded him this wasn't just his apartment, it was ours. But he just shook his head, told me I was overreacting, and walked out of the room before I could even finish. When I came out a few minutes later, Tyler was back, sitting on the couch like he owned the place. He gave me this smug little smile, and I swear it felt intentional, like he knew exactly how much power he had in that moment. And that's when I realized I might be in for something way worse than just an unexpected roommate. The next few days were unbearable. Tyler acted like he was the second man of the house, and Matt went along with it. They hogged the TV, stayed up drinking until 3 a.m., and left empty bottles all over the coffee table. When I asked Matt if he could at least set some ground rules, he brushed me off, saying Tyler was just adjusting. But the worst part wasn't the mess. It was the way Tyler started crossing lines with me. He'd make little comments about how I looked when I got ready for work, or he'd stand way too close when passing by in the kitchen. Once, I was folding laundry in the bedroom, and he strolled right in without knocking, grabbed one of Matt's shirts off the pile, and smirked at me like it was nothing. I told Matt about it, but he laughed it off, saying Tyler was just joking around and that I was reading too much into it. That stung more than anything, because I felt like my own boyfriend wasn't taking me seriously in my own home. Then came the night that really rattled me. I woke up around 2 a.m. to grab a glass of water, and when I stepped into the hallway, I heard whispers coming from the living room. I crept closer, and through the crack in the door, I saw Matt and Tyler sitting side by side on the couch. Tyler had his hand on Matt's shoulder, leaning in close, and Matt wasn't pulling away. My stomach flipped. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I knew it wasn't just two best friends hanging out. The energy was different, too intimate, too secretive. They suddenly stopped talking when they noticed me in the hallway. Matt's face went pale, and Tyler leaned back, smirking again, like he enjoyed catching me off guard. Matt muttered something about just talking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just walked in on something I wasn't meant to see. That was the first night I realized I might not just be dealing with an unwanted roommate, I might be losing my boyfriend altogether. The next morning, I couldn't even look at Matt. My mind kept replaying what I saw. Tyler's hand on his shoulder, the way they froze when I walked in, that smirk that felt more like a challenge than anything else. I wanted to confront him right then, but I was scared of what he'd say. Scared he'd confirm the fear that had been growing in the pit of my stomach. Instead, I stayed quiet, hoping maybe I was just imagining, but then Tyler started acting bolder. He'd make comments like, "We take good care of each other, don't we, Matt?" while staring right at me. Or he'd bring up stories from their past that always seemed to end with, "just the two of us." He wanted me to. One evening, I walked in and found them laughing on the couch, their knees almost touching. Matt had this relaxed look on his face, the kind of look he used to give me when we first moved in together. When he noticed me, he shifted away slightly, but not fast enough. My heart sank. Later that night, I finally asked him if there was something going on between him and Tyler. He got defensive instantly, accusing me of being paranoid and insecure. He said I was trying to drive a wedge between him and his best friend. But the way he avoided my eyes, the way his voice cracked just a little, it told me more than his words ever could. I went to bed that night, feeling like a stranger in my own relationship. Lying awake, staring at the ceiling, I realized something that broke me even more than suspicion. Matt hadn't chosen me in weeks. Not in conversations, not in small decisions, not even in how he looked at me. It was always Tyler. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about Tyler staying with us anymore. It was about who Matt actually wanted by his side. By the time the weekend rolled around, I felt like I was disappearing inside my own home. Tyler had completely taken over. His shoes by the door, his jacket on the chair, his laugh echoing through the apartment like it belonged there. And Matt? He seemed lighter around him, happier. Meanwhile, every time I spoke up, I was nagging. Saturday night, I tried to reclaim a little bit of normalcy. I suggested we go out, just the two of us, like we used to. Dinner, a movie, anything. Matt hesitated, glanced at Tyler, and then said, "Maybe another time." Tyler chimed in, saying he'd already ordered food for all of us and picked a movie to stream. My heart dropped. It wasn't even my relationship anymore. It was like I was the third wheel in theirs. I excused myself and went into the bedroom, fighting back tears. A little while later, I overheard them laughing again. My name came up, but their voices were low, and I couldn't catch what they were saying. Then I heard Tyler say, clear as day, "She won't last much longer here," and Matt didn't argue. He just laughed. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. The man I'd built a life with wasn't defending me. He was entertaining the idea of a life without me, and Tyler was the one planting it. That night, I barely slept. My chest felt heavy, like I was suffocating my own bed. I couldn't shake the thought that maybe I wasn't just imagining. Maybe Tyler hadn't moved in by accident. Maybe this had been the plan all along. And the scariest part? Matt seemed perfectly okay with it. The next morning, I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I packed a small overnight bag and told Matt I was going to stay with a friend for a couple of days. He didn't fight me on it. He barely even reacted. Just nodded, like it didn't matter whether I was there or not. That hurt worse than any argument could have. When I left, Tyler was leaning against the doorway, smirking again. He actually had the nerve to say, "Don't worry, I'll take care of him." My stomach churned. I didn't reply, just walked past him and slammed the door behind me. At my friend's place, I finally let it all out. The whispers at night, the way Tyler moved in without asking, the closeness I'd seen, the comments. She didn't even hesitate before saying it. Matt and Tyler were more than just friends. She said maybe they'd always been, and I just hadn't noticed until Tyler physically moved into our lives. That idea made my chest tighten, but at the same time, it explained everything. Why Matt had been so defensive, why Tyler acted like he belonged, why I felt like a ghost in my own relationship. I thought leaving would make things clearer, but it only made me feel more trapped. Matt didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask when I was coming back. The silence was deafening. I logged into social media, hoping for some kind of distraction, but instead I saw it. A picture Tyler had posted. It was him and Matt on our couch, sitting close, smiling like a couple. The caption read, "Couldn't ask for better company." My heart stopped. It wasn't just in my head anymore. They were flaunting it, and suddenly, I wasn't sure if I even had a home to go back to. I stared at that photo for a long time, my hands trembling. The comments under it made it worse. Inside jokes from their mutual friends, heart emojis, people saying how happy they looked. Nobody mentioned me. Nobody even seemed to remember I existed. I tried calling Matt after seeing it, desperate for some explanation, but he didn't answer. A couple of hours later, he finally texted back, "Don't overthink. Tyler just wanted to post something funny." But there was nothing funny about it. That picture looked exactly like the kind of post couples make. When I pushed him further, asking if there was something going on between them, he left me on read. No denial this time. No defense. Just silence. That silence said more than words ever could. The next day, I drove back to the apartment to grab more of my stuff. When I walked in, Tyler's things had completely taken over. His jackets hung beside Matt's, his cologne on the dresser, even his toothbrush next to mine, and the worst part, my framed photo with Matt that used to sit on the nightstand, was gone. In its place was a picture of just the two of them, smiling like it had been there forever. Matt walked in while I was packing. He looked surprised but not guilty. He just asked if I was really doing this. I told him I didn't have a choice. He'd already chosen Tyler. He didn't argue. He didn't beg me to stay. He just stood there, arms crossed, watching as I zipped up my bag. On my way out, Tyler called after me, saying I should have seen this coming. That stung more than anything else, because maybe he was right. I left with my heart in pieces, realizing I wasn't walking away from just Matt. I was walking away from the life I thought we were building, and it had been replaced by something I was never meant to be part of. The first few nights away were brutal. I kept replaying every moment in my head, every laugh they shared, every time Matt brushed off my concerns, every smug look Tyler gave me. It all connected now, like puzzle pieces I hadn't wanted to see before. I thought maybe distance would make Matt realize what he was losing, that he'd reach out, apologize, something. But instead, Tyler doubled down online. He started posting stories from inside my apartment, the kitchen I decorated, the couch I picked out, the balcony where Matt and I used to sit with coffee on lazy mornings. Only now it was the two of them. And then came the post that crushed me. Tyler uploaded a picture of himself lying on Matt's chest, their legs tangled under a blanket. The caption, "Safe where I belong." My stomach turned so violently I had to run to the bathroom. I wanted to believe maybe Matt hadn't seen it. Maybe he didn't know Tyler was putting this out there. But when I checked later, I saw Matt had liked the post. He even left a comment, a heart. That was it. The final nail. It wasn't just Tyler pushing his way into our lives. Matt had welcomed it. He'd embraced it. And I was the outsider now. I turned my phone off after that, but the image burned into my brain. My boyfriend, no, my ex, wasn't hiding anything anymore. They wanted people to know. Maybe they'd wanted it all along, and the sickest part? It was still my home, my things, my life. The final straw came 2 days later when a mutual friend messaged me, asking if Matt and I had broken up. I asked why, even though I already knew the answer. She sent me a screenshot. Tyler had posted a picture of him and Matt kissing, plain as day, with the caption, "No more hiding." I stared at it until my vision blurred. My chest ached like someone had reached inside and squeezed my heart until it cracked. All the little doubts, the late-night whispers, the smirks, it had all led to, and Matt hadn't had the decency to tell me himself. I packed the rest of my belongings with shaking hands. My parents drove up to help me, and walking into that apartment one last time felt like stepping into a stranger's life. Tyler's sneakers at the door, his jacket over the chair, their laughter spilling from the living room, intruding in their space. Matt barely looked at me while I hauled my boxes out. He didn't try to talk, didn't try to explain, just stood there with Tyler by his side. That silence told me everything. He'd already made his choice, and it wasn't me. Now I'm at my parents' house, surrounded by boxes of what's left of my life with him. I feel hollow, angry, humiliated. Part of me wonders if it was happening all along, even before Tyler moved in, and I was too blind to see it. Another part of me just feels relieved that at least I know the truth now. I don't know what hurts more, that my boyfriend replaced me so easily, or that he let his new life bloom right in the ashes of mine. But I do know this. I won't be the girl watching from the outside anymore. I've already lost too much to them, and I'm done.